Hi, my name is Terri Sproul and I want to welcome you to my studio. Tonight is our live Tuesday night art journal show. I want to welcome you. If you're here watching me on a later date on YouTube, give me a thumbs up, think about subscribing, and think about joining us on a live show on Tuesday night where you can ask me questions and we actually put up links and everything else for the products. So I'm got Joe here with me tonight. He will be putting up the links over there on Google+, and then tomorrow on my blog, which is terrisproul.blogspot.com, I will have all the links for the products I use tonight. I'm going to switch cameras. Okay, there we go. Hi, Debbie. So welcome, everybody. I've got my art journal here, and this is the one that we've been working in, the one that we actually made. And first off, I'm going to do is work with distress paints. And whenever I'm working with distress paints, I always get my page wet. And I did not gesso this because whenever you're working with a paint that is works really well with water, you don't want to have any gesso down. So I'm going to put some of this yellow on here. This is the distress paint. And I'm going to let that move around because I want this to be really dull. So if I get it real wet, it'll move. Get it moving around here a little bit. Sorry if I get off camera here. I just got to get this moving. Okay, now I'm going to go in with the peeled paint. Put this in a few spots. Again, keeping it real wet because I don't want it to dry. I want to get it to, I want it to move. And tonight we're going to do something in a fall theme. And when I think about fall, fall's that time of the year when the leaves are all changing, and I think it's really pretty. I love this time of the year. This is probably fall and spring are my favorite. It's just so the trees all changing colors, and especially you guys who live back east. I mean, God, it's so pretty back east, the colors you guys get compared to the colors we get here in San Diego. So I folded my closed the page a little. That helps mush colors together and get it moving. And then I want to end with this fire brick. I just want to get a little bit of this on here because this is a really intense color. Get this moving. Probably going to come in with some more yellow here in a minute. Again, just letting it run and move and spray some more. Just creating a really pretty background. Hope everybody had a blast for Halloween. I had way too much fun. My steampunk outfit was really awesome. I was really happy with that. So yeah, I was really happy with my Halloween costume. Had way too much fun.
Way too much fun? How could you have too much fun, Terri? What happened that had too much fun?
Terri got too drunk. Terri decided she ain't drinking anymore. They had these big tall glasses for that you could run around with. They charged $15 to fill them. Somebody kept filling mine. Okay, I'm gonna dab a little of this off in the center. And I'm gonna go back and put a little more yellow in here. But yes, Halloween was way fun. Way too much fun. But yeah, it was I went to a casino down here by my house that had a really cool Halloween party going. Lots of music, lots of DJs. Went till like 3 in the morning. Had a designated driver, so I was really smart on that. Nothing bad. Oh, that looks cool. Oh, look at that. That looks cool. I think I'm going to stop right there. I love when that happens. It's just like all of a sudden you look down and go, yep, that's it. Okay, I need to dry this pretty good so I can get to the next part. So give me a little patience. Needs to be real good and dry in the center for me to do what I need to do. So hold on here. And I got the pages pretty wet. Okay, that feels pretty good. Okay, now I'm going to work with some stamps from Sin City Stamps. This is actually one of my lines. And it's a leaf. There's a whole plate of leaves, and they're beautiful leaves. And it's only $16 for the whole plate, and you get quite a few stamps on it. So I would definitely go for the whole plate. And one of the things that I love about Sin City Stamps is you can get masks. Now, it's going to be really hard for you to see that that's a mask, but it is. And what it's cut to be a perfect mask for the stamps. So I think that's completely awesome. That's one of the reasons that I went with Sin City to have my lines done, is because she had the ability to do that. So I am inking up my biggest stamp with Indian ink. And you could use Stays On. I just like Indian ink because it's deep, dark, and a real deep black. That's what I like it. Now, when you're going to do a collage, which is what I'm going to do with these leaves, you got to kind of think, what do you want to be your most prominent leaves? So my idea is to have a bunch of leaves stamped across the page here, and they're going to look like it's a big pile of leaves. So you almost have to think backwards when you're masking for something. So this image I just made, that's going to be my main image. It's going to be actually sitting on top when I'm done. So I'm going to take my mask, and I just lay it right on top. But if you that makes you uncomfortable, you could put a little bit of double-sided tape. I would one that's maybe not real sticky, because you wouldn't want to pull the color off your paper, on the back of that, and you can lay it down. So now I'm going to grab a couple of my other stamps, and I have more masks here, and I'm going to ink them up, and I'm going to start layering. Where did I, oh, there it is. I couldn't find where I put my ink pad. So I'm going to ink this one up, this leaf stamp up, and this one is masked, so I can lay this right over top of that other leaf, and it's protected. So if I pull that away, now that leaf I just stamped, you see how it looks like it's on the bottom now? See that? Like I stamped it first. Now I can keep going. I'm going to keep this one covered up. And now I can actually even cover this one up too, because I have that mask, right? And I can use that same leaf stamp that I just used. Again, just inking it up with black ink, but you could use whatever you want to use. And I'm going to stamp again. And now I have another leaf underneath there. See that? And I'm going to keep going, because like I said, I want to have a whole pile here. I do have another leaf here that I want to bring in. So let's do that. Let's mask that one. Now, if you don't want to purchase the masks, which I would suggest you do, but if you don't want to, you can cut out, or if you're using another company's stamps and you don't have a mask, I like to use Post-it notes for a couple reasons. One, they're really, really thin, and you want to make sure you use a really thin paper when you do this technique, because if you use anything thick like a cardstock, you're going to end up getting like a shadow around the stamp, which you don't want. So just use something really thin, like computer paper or a Post-it notes. I think Post-it notes are the best, but you know, whatever you have around. See how this is working now? See how it's continuing down? I'm going to get this big one in here, so I'm going to cover that one. Grab my big stamp again. Wait, I'm going to cover this one too. And I'm going to come in from this way. Perfect. Okay, you see how that's starting to look like a little trail of leaves that are just floating around here? And these masks, you can just wipe them off when you're done. Is all I do, is I just take a baby wipe to them and get all the ink off of them. If you have something like StazOn, you can grab your StazOn ink cleaner and clean it up also. Or just don't worry about it, you know. The only reason it makes it nice to clean it up is because that way you end up getting, you can see through it and you get a nice crisp. You can see exactly where your image is. Okay, I'm going to put one more and then we're done doing this. Okay. Now be careful. These things are really easy to lose, by the way. I lose them on my desk all the time. So I'm going to stick them right there so hopefully I don't lose them later. And again, those are from Sin City Stamps. Okay, so I got my leaves going across my page like I wanted. Isn't that kind of pretty? Now I want to use Twinkling H2Os. So I've got a little pile of Twinkling H2Os around me. And first thing you have to do with Twinkling H2Os is activate them. I did squirt them about right before we came on, so they do have some water in them. But I'm going to add a little more. And my bottle doesn't want to squirt, so I'm just going to pour some in there. So yeah, Twinkling H2Os have to be activated with water. They are a hard cake pan, and they don't get activated until you put water on them. So I'm just going to use my water brush, and what's really cool about these things is you can do some really pretty watercolor looks with them. I want to have, oh, here's one, paper towel. You're grabbing a paper towel because I don't want to get too much color. I want the color to be blended into the background. And I just grab some fall colors, you know, oranges, a green, and I can go in this, like, dab off this color. So put it on and kind of dab it off. And you can also take your paintbrush and add more water to it and pull the color out into your image more too. So I'll show you that when I come to a place where I'm going to end up doing that. And I'll explain that better. So Twinkling H2Os, you can blend them, you can layer them. really easily. Now I am going to stick with this color for just a second and just color a few more of these, and then I'll go in, and that'll allow that a chance to dry too. And if you allow the color to dry, when you add the next color that you put on top, you end up getting more of a instead of them blending, more of a layered, which I like. Clean my brush off here. Let me get some of this green. Again, if it's too watery, like right there, it's really, really wet. So I'm going to go in and just really easily dab some of that water off. I don't want it to be that watery. So that's why I always have a paper towel with me whenever I'm doing this technique. Just keep a paper towel and just dab off any of the water that gets to be puddly, I guess is the word. Oh. You got 6 whole trick-or-treaters, Deb? I didn't get any up here. I can't find Indian ink pads anywhere. You could try stewartsuperior.com for your Indian ink pad and see if that works.
And Create and Craft has them on sale. I posted a link in the chat room.
Well, there you go.
We have the pads and the refills on sale at Create, the letter N like Nancy, craft.com. And on the left-hand side, click on the category that says inks.
There you go, guys. See, Joe's just saved the day. Okay, whatever. Doing the happy dance. I'm here. Oh, yes, I know. Debbie wasn't sure if she was going to get to be here tonight. So welcome, Debbie. Does the stamp ink blend with the colors? Does the stamp? No, because this is Indian ink. Indian ink is permanent. The question was, is the color I'm going to put on top, is it lifting the ink up? And no, it's not, because it's Indian ink. Now, you do have to make sure the Indian ink is completely dry before you do that, but it will not lift. Great question. So let me just real quickly put all these as done. Okay, now this one's starting to dry now, so I can come in with another color, and I like to come right at the edges, because if you think about how a leaf changes colors, it doesn't change colors everywhere. Okay, now there's a perfect example. You see how deep I have that red right there? I'm going to grab just plain water on my brush, dab off the water so it's not so thick, and I'm going to pull that color out because it's too intense and it's not what I was looking for. So that's a perfect example of what I was saying of how I pull color from a certain area. So I'm going to keep dabbing into that. Me and my good English. See, again, good English. To pull the color from that instead of dipping back into the jar, because that's way darker than I want it to be. And then I can again go in with my paper towel and blend that out a little too. So yes, go over to Create and Craft to get your Indian ink pad. Perfect, Joe. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to post it over in the Q&A window, but I can't see where I post over there. So I'm posting over on Google+.
Okay. Now you see how I'm getting multiple colors going there now? Isn't that really pretty? So I can come in again with a different color, and I'm going to just dab some more color in there. So this really starts looking like a fall leaf. The more you dab and play with these colors and just add and layer and just really have fun. And I don't have to do all these leaves. I'll just do a couple so you guys get the general idea of how to do this. But I will let something completely dry, like that green's now completely dry, so I can go in with, say, this orange now and start, again, a little too wet. So I'm drying off my paintbrush and pulling that color around. See that? Look how pretty that is. I think I want more red, so I'm going to go in and get this, grab this red. I got to be careful because this red is really intense, and I know that. But this kind of reminds me of a maple leaf. So the red, maple leaves turn really red. So I'm going to go for it. Still keeping that green in the background. Just give it a more natural look. I'm just going to grab pure water and blend that out some. And if I think I like lost a lot of that green, which I kind of do think I did, I can come in and add more to it. So I'm going to grab a little of this green and kind of throw that back in there. And it's really blending that out and making it very, I want to say marbly. Yeah, I love these words I make up. It's so much fun to make up words. So this is basically my idea of, I'm going to obviously do all the leaves like this, just layering colors on them and making it look like autumn. So isn't that pretty? Isn't it pretty? I think it's very pretty. And I like how these the mask works so that I didn't have to fussy cut around there, because I know you guys have heard me say this before. I am not a big fan of fussy cutting. I have to admit it. And to have a stamp company make these stamps have mask for me is just like heaven. So thank you, Sin City, for doing that. So again, just layering color on here. Now, okay, I can get lost in this, so I'm going to try to stop here real quickly, because this is going to get, I'm just going to get lost and continue to play and play and play. I want to show you the next thing before I get too involved. Okay, okay, but isn't that pretty? And I would continue to do all of my leaves all the way across. Now, I was going through my stamps today, and I really didn't have a really cool fall saying that I wanted to talk about. Oh, before we do that, I want to actually, this is Andy Skinner's stamp from Stampendous, and I want to do that around the edge. This is that really cool, like, messy one. It's from his industrial set. And I'm not going to get this completely inked up. I just want parts of it. So I'm going to ink up this little edge, and I'm going to do just the edge of the corners. Also, on your Twinkling H2Os, while I'm thinking about this, you do not put them away with, put the caps on with them wet. You let them dry completely before you put the caps on, okay? And that's to keep them from molding or having any issues like that. And I'm just thinking about just doing the edges, but the corners, but we'll see. I think I like just the corners. Okay, and I'm going to grab a distressed ink pad. Oh, I know I had a, hold on, let me grab a makeup sponge. I know I had one here, but it seems to have jumped off my desk. Let's grab another one. And this one is called Rusty Hinge. And again, I always like to do my corners the darkest. And then just kind of blend out from there. So I always start in my corners. and blend out. Oh, I like that. That looks pretty. But what I was saying was, if you don't have a really good quote, you can always go on the internet. And I just put in autumn quotes today, and it came up with a whole mess load of quotes for me. And I found one that I liked, that I thought was meaningful, because, you know, I like to try to have a little bit of heart behind these art journal pages and classes I do. And I want you know, fall is that time that we need to remember that we can start over, that the trees are starting over, even though it looks like they're dying. They're giving us this beautiful splendor of color in fall. I mean, it's almost like spring, but in a different way. So enjoy it. So I found this one. It says, life starts all over again when it gets crisp in the fall. Couple little suggestions I always have for you is I double spaced in between my sentences, and I put an extra space in between each word. That gives me more options if I want to cut out each letter, each word, if I want to do sentences, if you know what I mean. It gives me more options when I decide to put my page together on how I want it to look. Do I want it to be a whole sentence, or do I want to have, you know, one word at a time? You know, do I want to go a little across? Nope, ain't gonna work. So let's do, you know, see how it gives me more options if I have a little room around everything to work. So definitely think about that. And then you didn't have to pay for this quote at all. I just put it on my Word doc. I sized it the way I want. You can find a pretty font if you want. You know, you can do whatever. You know, you can really, it gives you all kinds of options. Where as much as I love stamps, and you guys all know that, if you buy a stamp, it's only one font, it's only one size. Here you can do all kinds of stuff. You know, I think I have, yep, I do. I have a stamp that says autumn, so I'm going to actually use that instead of the word fall. So that's how it's going to word out. Let me grab some adhesive. And you're going to use molding paste, or excuse me, gel medium. Remember, my hint on that is to always use a dry brush, one that has not had water on it yet. Actually, before I do that, I want to ink these up a little so they're not so stark. And I'm going to use that same distressed ink that I used around the edges. Just put a real light coat on it. Yep, that's better. Yep, don't like that starkness. I think I'm even gonna, I think I have an idea too. I am going to take that same stamp that I used a few minutes ago from Andy Skinner. Yep, there it is. And go around the edge of this also. And I'm barely inking this one. Okay, so there we go. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. And I just did this on regular, I always have to stop myself because I automatically want to say typing paper, and that totally dates me because there's no such thing as typing paper anymore. Computer paper. I'm so old. So it's really, you know, inexpensive. And then you can go over the top of this, and that will completely seal it too. So if you go over the whole thing when you're done, it will seal it completely in there. And it'll become more like part of the paper. Okay, I'm almost done here. So if anybody has any last minute questions, please, hey Joe, I went over to your tube and it says comments are disappearing from the video. Went over to YouTube and it said comments are disabled for this video. Okay, I'll check on that. So anybody have any last minute questions, get them in now. This autumn stamp is actually also one from Sin City Stamps. I'm going to put this right here, and I'm going to just ink that up again with black ink. Tell I haven't used it yet because I haven't trimmed it well enough. Autumn. Autumn, there we go. Okay, so I will finish this up off air. I will do the rest of my leaves, and probably it'd be about it. I might do a little bit of edging around my words once those dry a little bit, but I just wanted to teach you how to do that masking so that you can do a really cool scene like that. Let me bring this up just real close, a little closer so you guys can see those, and then I'll let you go. See how those leaves are one on top of the other? And this was the very first one I stamped right there. It says, Joe, can you please link Terry's Facebook page? The All Things Terri Sproul is on Facebook. Thank you for asking that one. Oh, wrong mouse. Any other questions? I'm just checking to see if there's any more other questions before. Love how it's turned out. Thank you, Debbie. Great colors. Thank you. Twinkling H2O sure make it easy. Okay, looks like I doesn't have any other questions. If I did miss a question, you can always catch me over on Facebook and ask me the question or put it in my group called All Things Terri Sproul, and I will take care of that. Let me say quick goodbye, and then we'll see you next week. My camera. Okay, so bye. See you next week, next Tuesday. Give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel. Bye.